It was the last Friday before Christmas, and I had a lot of Christmas shopping to do. I had been having one of the most stressful weeks of my life, for reasons I won't get into, and the second I finally had an hour of spare time, I had to run to the mall. It would probably be my last chance to do any shopping before Christmas, so I had to seize the opportunity. I got there probably around 6, so it was already practically pitch black out. It wasn't the most ideal time to go to the mall either. The place was utterly packed, and I had to park what felt like damn near a quarter mile away. The second I got there, I realized I severely underestimated the amount of time shopping would take. There was a line out the door in basically every shop. This nightmare of a week was really showing no signs of giving me a break. But then again, it was Friday before Christmas, so I definitely should have anticipated that kind of crowd. It took several hours, but I finally managed to get everything I was looking for. I had the perfect gifts for my husband, sons, and my friends too. Right as I was leaving the Bath & Body Works, I was approached by some man who stepped right in front of me, coming out of nowhere and blocking my path. I looked up at him, and he gave me this uncomfortable smile. I asked him, "Can I help you?" and he proceeded to ask me how to get to some specific store. I don't even remember what he said, nor was I really listening, but I didn't know how to get there regardless, and I told him that. Then he made me stop in my tracks with his next comment. "Very beautiful, you know that?" I just said thank you and walked away. He seemed very creepy, smelled horrible, and I just wanted to get home. It didn't take me long to notice, however, that he was following me. I initially started walking towards the back mall exits. I would frequently turn around to see, despite the huge amount of people in there, that one guy who was always about 10 feet or so behind me, with his creepy smile plastered on his face. I wasn't dumb enough to let this guy follow me to the parking lot. I started looking around for a security guard I could get the attention of, and when I finally spotted one, I started walking towards him. As I was walking towards the guard, I turned around just in time to see the guy turning around and quickly disappearing into the crowd. I took the opportunity to slip outside through a nearby exit. There were a large number of people outside, so I didn't necessarily feel unsafe. I also made an effort to continuously check my surroundings, and I didn't see the man anywhere. I started to get worried again, however, as I walked to where I parked, which was a block over, because there was no one around. There still didn't appear to be anyone following me as far as the eye could see. I got into my car and made sure to lock the doors. Before starting my engine, I just opened my phone to check text messages. Not even a second after I pulled my phone out, I heard someone pulling aggressively on the car door to the back seat. I spun around to see that same guy standing outside the car, bent over and staring at me with his hand on the car handle. I didn't even know what to do other than scream. His smile was gone at this point. He was just staring right into my soul with this blank expression. Then he eerily, very slowly, took his hand off the door and then just backed away from the car without breaking eye contact. I started it and got out of there without looking back. I'm still forever thankful for the intuition I had to lock my car doors immediately after getting inside, which could have saved my life. We did end up reporting it, and I believe the mall got security footage of the guy, but I don't think he was ever caught. This story is a strange one. It may be hard to follow and hard to believe, so just bear with me. It was only a couple days from Christmas, and my family was staying at my uncle's house. Part of the reason why it's a confusing story is because I have two cousins named Connor. One is my oldest cousin on my dad's side, who is 19, and the other is much younger, 11. The oldest one we usually just call CJ anyways, so that's how I'll refer to him in the story. Anyways, one night 2 days before Christmas, my aunt and uncle had asked CJ to take all the kids for a drive around town to look at the Christmas lights. Since we had spent most, if not the entire day, playing PlayStation in CJ's bedroom, we all got in CJ's old Subaru. It was me, CJ, Connor, my cousin Jacob, and my other cousin Rodney. He began driving us all around the neighborhood to see people's lights. The lights were actually more impressive than I thought they would be. It's probably because we live in a very rural area where people have a lot of time on their hands, so they just go all out for Christmas. About a half hour into the drive, CJ headed northeast of our neighborhood towards where the mobile homes and trailers were. I think he merely did this for shits and giggles, but some of the mobile homes actually had pretty amazing decorations as well. The further we drove down the street, though, the less plowed the road seemed. The gaps between houses were also becoming larger. Eventually, CJ was forced to turn around as we hit a huge pile of snow in the middle of the road we couldn't go around. Right as he successfully completed a 3-point turn, I saw Jacob next to me looking through the window with a confused face. I asked him what was wrong, and he said, "Look at that person." "What person?" CJ asked. "There's some guy coming from the woods." We all stopped and turned to look in the direction Jacob was. At first I didn't see anything through the darkness and the falling snow, but eventually the light from CJ's fog lights was just enough to reveal a figure moving through the dark. It was a man whose features I couldn't really identify, pushing some large dark object through the snow. "What is that?" I asked. "I don't know, it looks like a wheelchair," Jacob said, "but there's nobody in it." I saw he was right. It was this man dressed in all black, just pushing an empty wheelchair over the snow, and he was coming straight for us. We all told CJ how creepy we thought it was and that we should get out of there. He agreed and began pulling away. I turned my head away, and right at that moment Rodney started panicking and yelling for CJ to floor it. We were all turning around and asking why, when Jacob screamed, "Holy shit, he's chasing us." I shot a look straight out of the back window and saw the guy full-on sprinting towards us, still pushing the wheelchair. I could now see his face, and he had this manic, insane look. I don't know what it was specifically about it, but he just didn't look normal. We were all screaming, "Go, go, go," as CJ stepped on it, and his transmission was stuttering. All of my cousins began screaming louder as there was this deafening bang right behind us, followed by the rear window cracking. I saw just in time before we rounded a curve in the road the wheelchair clattering to the ground, and the man just standing there watching us leave. Apparently he had full-on thrown the wheelchair at CJ's car. The ride back was chaotic, all of us trying to make sure we weren't followed. When we finally got home, we explained to the rest of the family what happened. What followed was much debate over the nature of the encounter, like if it was hostile or not, and then whether or not to report it to the police. All of us who had been in the car said that it was definitely hostile and that someone should call the local police department. My uncle ended up doing it and reported suspicious activity in the area. We never saw that guy again, but the whole experience definitely put my holidays on edge. It was Christmas Eve. I was finally at that age where my parents stopped caring about how long I would stay up for at night, so I spent most of my winter break nights gaming deep into the early hours of the morning. Sometimes I genuinely wouldn't go to sleep at all. Unhealthy, I know, but try telling that to teenage me. So the night in question, I was in my room playing Xbox with my headphones in, and I had the volume really loud. I could still swear I was hearing noises outside of my room though, like bumps and thuds. Being 17, I chalked it up to my parents or my little brother walking around. It was around 3 in the morning, so I figured they were probably doing something with the presents. Eventually though, I was forced to mute the game and listen closer, as the sounds had gone on for over 10 minutes without stopping. But of course, right as I muted the game, I heard nothing. I resumed playing my game for another hour, when I heard it again, only a lot louder this time. I was sure I heard it this time, and was honestly a little annoyed. To prove to myself that it was just my little brother messing around and looking at the presents, I decided to go downstairs. As soon as I left my room, I could hear the sound of the tree rustling downstairs, proving it was my brother trying to get an early look at his gifts. As I started descending the staircase, I heard footsteps quickly walking away from the tree, and then the basement door closing. That was odd. The basement was the last place I expected my brother to go hide, since he was always scared of it. I saw a bunch of the presents under the tree were strewn about, some even left out in the hallway. I was ready to tell my brother off for making a mess. As soon as I opened the basement door, I was hit with a wave of freezing cold air. I went down the stairs and noticed one of the windows was wide open, and a pile of snow had been kicked in from outside. I had no idea why any of my family would have opened that window, and I wasn't even entirely sure my little brother could reach it. I suddenly got very afraid. I turned the lights on and looked around. There was no one at the bar or at any of the couches, but I finally realized for the first time that the closet across from the bar was slightly cracked open. That door was always shut, because no one in my family ever used it. I called my brother's name but didn't get a response. I tried again, saying I was going to wake up Mom and Dad if he didn't get out of there. Nothing. I stood there staring at the closet for what felt like an hour, debating whether or not I should just go and open it. But the whole situation was just getting too weird for me. There's no way my brother wouldn't have answered me by now. I decided on just going upstairs to check if he was in bed. It was the only thing I could think to do, honestly. I left the basement and went back upstairs. Before I even made it to my brother's room, I heard the basement door swing open, followed by footsteps running to the front door, and then the front door crashing open and shut. I ran to my brother's room, and I felt my heart drop seeing him in bed. I then ran to my parents' room, just as my dad was sitting up yelling about the noise. I told him frantically someone was in the house. He freaked out and ran downstairs, and we could hear him shouting. Whoever it was had broken in through the basement window, which was unlocked, stolen a fairly large amount of cash from the bar, and left through the front door. We don't live in an unsafe area at all, so the fact this could even happen shocked me. More shocking was the fact police told us there had been a rash of break-ins and burglaries that same night. Just goes to show you how you should always lock your doors and windows, and never take your safety for granted. Last year on Christmas Eve, I was sitting on the living room couch enjoying my free time alone. The rest of my family was already asleep. I had a couple hours to myself to do whatever I wanted, so I put a Christmas movie on the TV while I made some hot chocolate for myself. I wasn't really paying attention to the movie. I was just lying on the couch scrolling through Facebook on my phone. I remember feeling very content. It was the perfect night. I had the fireplace going and the tree looked really good. Just then I heard a loud thud coming from downstairs in the den. It sounded too loud to be a random house noise, but I was honestly too comfortable to get up, so I just ignored it. 5 minutes later though, I heard another thud. It sounded like something had fallen over down there. I had to get up and take a look. I made it to the stairs and began hearing voices from down in the den. I completely froze up upon hearing this. It sounded like the voices of several men. I intently listened, trying to make out if what I was hearing was real or not. It sounded like 3 or 4 men all murmuring words to each other I couldn't make out. It didn't even sound like they were speaking English. I crouched down to get a better look into the den and saw nothing. The voices were gone now, too. The den was a very small room, and there really wasn't anywhere for anyone to run and hide that quickly. I would have seen them. I walked to the bottom of the stairs and turned the lights on. Then I searched the entire den. Nothing was out of the ordinary. I had to chalk it up to my imagination, as insane as that sounded. I went back upstairs into the couch. I must have drifted off to sleep at some point because I remember waking up in the dark room. The fire was out and the movie had ended. I had no idea what time it was, but I figured I should probably go to bed. I collected my dish and mug and was about to bring them to the kitchen when I saw something that made me stop. I swear to God, I had to rub my eyes and look at it again. I thought I was seeing 4 freakishly tall figures standing by the living room table. The light from the Christmas tree was just enough to allow me to see it. It looked so real, I almost had a heart attack. I dove for the lamp and flicked it on, but now there was no one. I searched the whole floor and even checked the den again. There was no one inside the house. I thought I must have been losing my mind. I went straight to bed after that. Just to make one thing clear, I've never hallucinated in my entire life, nor have I since this incident, so I don't know what exactly it was that I saw that night.